Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My daughter-in-law stole $17,000 from me. Now I'm suing her. After that, am I the jerk for re-gifting my boyfriend's present, a $1,300 laptop, to my sister? And after that, if I have a problem, I should take it to HR? Okay. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to steal $17,000. Can't steal that much if you don't even have it, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My daughter-in-law stole $17,000 from me. Now I'm suing her. They aren't actually married. I'm just referring to her as my daughter-in-law since it's easier for the sake of storytelling. Our son and daughter-in-law, who are 26, have been together for 2 years and they live together. We've always thought she was a very nice girl, and she seems to make my son happy, so no problem from us. Our son has his own law firm that he's currently trying to get started. We're very proud of him, and we're fortunate enough to help him with a startup loan. Daughter-in-law works a retail job that she's very happy with. Some time ago, husband and I were over at their apartment, and we decided to order some food. Husband and I wanted to pay, and since daughter-in-law was ordering from her phone, we gave her our card so that she could draw the money from our account. We thought it goes without saying that this was to draw an amount once for the lunch. However, daughter-in-law apparently put our card into her Apple Pay and has been using it ever since. We didn't notice for some months, but recently saw withdrawals that we didn't recognize. We had our accountant look into it, and he discovered that 1. Daughter-in-law has been using our card on her phone, and that 2. She spent around $17,000. We were quite shocked and called her up and asked her why the heck she's been using our card. She got very defensive, trying to deny it, and eventually just said that she was entitled to it. And why do we care since we haven't noticed her use of it in over 4 months? We told her she needed to pay us back immediately or we'd report her actions for theft. She apparently doesn't have the money to pay us back. We've gone to our son and he's offered to pay us back, even though he actually cannot afford to. This isn't about the money for us, but more about the fact that she's stolen a huge amount of money. While we are comfortable, and it took us time to notice, we still recognize the seriousness of stealing $17,000. Our son has completely dismissed her behavior and excused it as her being stressed. She's taken no responsibility, and we're honestly wanting to go forward with the police report to teach her the consequences to her actions. Would we be the jerks for doing this? Not the jerk. $17,000 in theft is $17,000 in theft. Inexcusable behavior on her part. Don't sue, just report her to the cops. OP can and should do both. 1, because her actions are criminal, and the second, to recover her money. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. If the daughter-in-law is this entitled, I have a feeling one day she won't have a problem stealing from the son's law firm or something else that could get him in serious trouble. The son is looking at things through rose-colored in-love glasses, but trusting a person like this can really ruin someone's life. Your son might be angry, but in the long run, you might also be saving him from a worse fate, OP. The audacity of this girl. I don't care who it is, how close I am to them, or how much money they have. Never in a million years would I ever steal like this. I wonder if she tried to tell the son it was an accident and her phone just happened to save the card. She knew exactly what she was doing. A broke person doesn't blow $17,000 in 4 months. They're careful with their money. I don't spend that much money on myself in 3 years, let alone 4 months. This was no accident, OP. Press charges. Someone who steals is not a person you can ever trust to have in your life. I don't care if it's $20 or $20,000. When someone is dishonest like that and is comfortable being dishonest, you need to cut them out of your life. Well, what do you think? Should OP sue her daughter-in-law or not? Please let us know. Absolutely. You can't just steal $17,000 from someone because you feel like it. Am I the jerk for re-gifting my boyfriend's present, a $1,300 laptop, to my sister? I, 23 female, love my boyfriend, who's 24 male, and we've been dating for about 2 years. He's always been really supportive, and our relationship is great. So when it came time for Christmas, I wanted to get him something really special. He's been complaining about his laptop for a while and has expressed the desire to upgrade to a newer model. I decided I would surprise him with a brand new laptop for Christmas. I wanted to get him the best laptop I could, so for the weeks leading up to Christmas, when he'd complain about his laptop, I'd take these opportunities to casually ask him about which laptop he liked, what he wanted in a new laptop, and so on. The main problem he had with his laptop was the speed, so I thought it would be fitting to get him the same model that he had, MacBook Pro, just the latest version. Now, I'm not a tech person. I don't know the first thing about RAM, SSD, etc. I just assumed a $1,300 laptop would be more than enough for his needs, so I bought the laptop without doing any more research into it. Christmas Day came and I gave my boyfriend the laptop. He was so excited until he saw the specs. When he saw that the laptop had 8 gigabytes of RAM, he was really disappointed because he couldn't get his work done on such a slow machine. He was adamant that he needed something with more RAM. This turned into a full-blown argument. I tried to explain to him that I had done my best and I spent a lot of money on the laptop, so he should appreciate it, but he wasn't having it. He said that he would rather return the laptop and get the one he wanted. At this point, I was really hurt and upset. I had gone out of my way to get him a really nice present, and I felt like he didn't appreciate it at all. Yes, I could return it and get him the one he wanted, but I had already spent a lot of money. The fact that he wasn't even willing to give it a chance really made me frustrated. So long story short, I decided to re-gift the laptop to my sister, who's 19. She's a college student, and I know that she could use a new laptop like this. I know it may sound selfish, but I didn't think it was fair that he didn't appreciate my gift, and I wanted to make sure the laptop went to someone that would actually appreciate it. My boyfriend is, to put it bluntly, really upset. He does not understand why I wouldn't just return it and get him a new one that he wanted, and cannot believe I would do something so selfish when I know how much he needs a new laptop. I feel kind of bad, but at the same time, this wasn't cheap for me, and a little appreciation would have been nice. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Your boyfriend sounds like he was appreciative of your gift, but he needed a machine that can do what he needs it to. That's the risk of getting a laptop or something similar, cars, etc., without the involvement of the person you're buying it for. The correct action would have been returning the laptop and allowing him to put the money towards a machine that fits his needs. Not to mention, once you gift something, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It was his laptop, and you took it to gift it to your sister. Soft, you're the jerk. You seem to be placing more importance on your own need to feel validated in your gift giving, rather than wanting to make sure your gift will actually be useful and appreciated. I can understand why you would feel hurt and disappointed that your gift didn't have the intended effect, especially after putting a lot of money into it. But the gift was intended to fill a specific need in your boyfriend's life, and it doesn't meet that need. He shouldn't have to try to make do with inadequate equipment just because you spent a lot of money on it without doing further research. Since you knew and didn't have a lot of knowledge about what specifically he would need, a better idea may have been a gift card or money to put towards a laptop that he could pick out himself based on what he knows he needs and will use it for. Giving the laptop to your sister isn't the answer here. Put it another way. Imagine you drive a crappy old car to work. It's falling apart. You often complain to your boyfriend how crappy it is and how it barely gets you to your job, a 30-minute car ride away. Your boyfriend picks up on this and decides to surprise you for Christmas with a brand new bike. Sure, it's nice and very thoughtful, but it's not what you need to get to work. But just give it a chance. No, giving a bike the chance to be a car isn't realistic. It's just not the right gift. You're the jerk. You meant well, but your gift was not what he needed. You could have offered to return it and get a gift card to the computer shop so he could put the money towards something more expensive that fits his needs. But instead, you threw a fit and gave it away. Think a little next time before you react. There's often another, more reasonable solution. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know. MacBook. Ugh. Everyone knows Microsoft is better than Apple. If I have a problem, I should take it to HR? Okay. This just happened today. So a little backstory. I work for a warehouse that specializes in computer equipment. It's generally very uneventful. Everyone is mostly nice to each other, except for one unsavory engineer. He had a reputation for being very belligerent and almost impossible to work with. But with a couple months left until his retirement, people tended to leave him alone. I knew all too well he would be gone by summer, so I decided not to engage with him until he was gone. Cue this morning when I went to the warehouse to do some small inventory, and up comes the engineer huffing and puffing. Without evidence, he started accusing me of messing around with some pallets he was working on. Calmly, I explained to him that I did not, and he can check the camera he installed in the warehouse to see that I did no such thing. He kept on insisting that I did, growing increasingly angrier and started going off on me in the warehouse full of people. But I did not waver, and calmly insisted that he can just check the security footage that he has access to, but he just kept going off on me. At this point, I calmly told him to breathe because he was getting out of control. And this is where it went from bad to worse. He started screaming and going off on me even louder, that he is 50 years older than me, and I cannot tell him what to do. I said nothing and watched as the engineer got redder and redder in the face. Eventually he yelled, "If you have a problem with how I act, take it to HR or the boss," and stomped away. So I did just that. I made a quick note of who was in the warehouse, noted the time, asked 3 people to be my witnesses of what happened. So up to HR I went and poured out every exhaustive detail I can remember. I explained that I've been in enough companies to know that kind of treatment and verbal mistreatment borderlines harassment, if not pure threatening behavior. I explained very calmly I'm not comfortable working in that environment, and I do not wish to escalate the situation anymore. I just wanted the incident documented and on record in case the engineer tried to twist the story to management. HR said they would take care of it. 2 hours later, I found out that the engineer was told to go home, and not even 20 minutes later after that, he had been made permanently working from home. And not even 20 minutes after that, I found out that all the engineer's credentials had been revoked, his remote access to the company network disabled, and his day-to-day duties were divided to other people. His final project is now to write up his tasks and how to do them. With 7 months left to his retirement, it's not looking very good that he'll be around until then. Christmas Karen wants boneless chicken breast. This was a few years back, but working this holiday season, I retold the story to coworkers and felt this was a good place to post it. To preface, I'm a career butcher, and at the time was working for the food hall. If anyone isn't familiar, the meat department becomes crazy around November and doesn't abate until after Christmas. We took holiday orders in person then, now mostly all online unless they're odd. As you might imagine, the orders are usually for standing rib roasts, tenderloins, hams, turkeys, and ducks and geese. They really add up, and for my boss, sorting all the paper orders is a nightmare. Enter Karen.
I would like to place a holiday order.
Me. Gets relevant info. Cool. What would you like on the 24th? Karen.
1 pound of boneless chicken.
Me. Oh, no problem. You actually don't need to order that. We'll have plenty of regular chicken, steaks, and burger. You only need to place an order for roasts, etc. Karen.
I had to wait forever last year. This year, I don't want to wait, so I'll order it.
Me. We'll have 2 lines, so if you're just coming to get regular items, you won't need to wait in the order line.
But I want to make sure.
At this point, I was already way done, so I decided I would comply, maliciously. I took her order, then proceeded to inform every single person in my department of the situation and the plan. The day of, she came up, told the guy at the counter she wanted chicken. Having been warned by me, he asked, "Did you pre-order it?" Karen.
Yes.
Coworker. Okay, let me go search through the sheet to find your order.
You can just grab it from the case.
No, we already have yours put away. I'll find it. I wouldn't want it to get lost in the cooler and go bad over Christmas. Karen is frustrated.
Okay.
Coworker goes to our order book, searches through, and finds her name, and says, "Okay, I found you on the list. Now I just have to find your order." Coworker enters the cooler, and being how full the cooler was, it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It took him about 15 minutes. At multiple points through the ordeal, other employees greeted her. She tried to get them to get her chicken for her, and they all told her, because I had warned them, that she had to wait for the one specifically put aside for her. I estimate that she waited almost 30 minutes, including line time to get to our counter. Edit. Since a few of you asked or remarked, I cut out most of our dialogue for clarity, as much of it was me trying differently worded ways to explain to her that placing an order would be self-defeating. She just wanted to avoid the line at the holiday table. Additionally, this was before lockdown, and we literally had never been out of boneless chicken, so I guaranteed she'd get them either way. Am I the jerk for telling my sister it's not my fault she could never go to her dream school? My family dynamic is messy and complicated, So if there's any confusion, let me know. I'm the oldest out of my 4 siblings. We've got me, 43 male. We've got Julia, 40 female. Kenzie, 27 female. And Katie, 23 female. Julia doesn't play a part in this. She disowned the family. Our dad ran out on us, and my mom was busted for crimes when Katie and Kenzie were still very young, so they ended up in the custody of my grandma. If you ask them, they survived WW2 when it wasn't that bad. Our grandma was overly protective and tired having to take care of kids again, but nothing extreme. Her health rapidly declined in their early teen years. I was out of state, so I wasn't a physical caregiver. I was power of attorney, so I was a financial caregiver while they took care of the physical needs. Katie was going to drop out of high school. She barely graduated. This is important for the future. Once she graduated, her and Kenzie came to me. They said they wanted to put grandma in a home so Kenzie could take a manager position, and Katie wanted to get out of town, go to our state capital, take classes at a community college, and transfer to their selective university. She said a teacher who knew her situation believed that she had potential to get there and become something great. They said it wasn't possible when caring for grandma. I told them no. They've resented me since. Katie went to a community college in our town and flunked out right away. After grandma passed, she went back and has been doing all right. She fell into a depression after her boyfriend cheated on her. She was talking about it to Kenzie and myself and said the thing that hurt was the person he cheated with was beautiful, talented, and then she said his affair partner actually goes to her dream school. She said this girl had everything that she should have had in life. Well-rounded high school experience, parents to support her, a great education, and now this girl had truly taken everything from her. Then she mentioned she should have been at that school, but she was taking care of the grandma that called her every name in the book for 2 more years longer than she should have. This isn't the first time she's been tipsy and made a passive-aggressive comment, so I told her, Katie, I'm not the reason you couldn't get into your dream school. You failed out right away from community college and would have done the same thing there. You weren't ready and can't accept that. Kenzie told me I was a jerk who didn't understand burnout. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Let me get this straight. You had the financial and legal power to find a way to get professional care for your grandmother, who was at the time unable even to go to the bathroom by herself. You chose instead to leave her in the hands of 2 untrained young adults. They had an extra job on top of their other jobs in education, a job they were not trained to do, a job that the 2 of them had to divide between themselves 24 hours a day, so there was never any relief from being around someone who calls them every name in the book. And you have the nerve to blame them for being so stressed out and tired that Katie flunked out of college? No wonder they resent you, you jerk. Of course you're the jerk. You were raised with 2 parents, and your teenage sisters were forced to be raised by an elderly woman who didn't want to watch them. And they were forced to physically care for her while you held all financial power over them. And you have the gall to say it wasn't that bad? You're the jerk. You're 20 years older than your sisters. They should not have been forced to play nursing home for their grandmother while you were off living your life and doing whatever it is you do. You did indeed ruin their lives, and you think their issues were no big deal? Of course you think that. You disappeared. Yes, you can set the air conditioning to your desired coolness. So, some years ago, my father was a building inspector in the government. He had a set area of buildings he had to maintain, meaning he would go to the buildings owned by the government and do regular inspections on the cooling and heating, generators, etc. He would also be in charge of maintenance schedules, getting contractors for repairs and new installations, and so on. So this one particular site is an office building with a large open plan layout sharing large air conditioning units to cool the area. Obviously, if a large group of people share an office space, the temps are set to a general temperature to accommodate the majority of the people, with the understanding that if it's too cold, bring a sweater. Then he started getting complaints the ACs are set too cold. He would go, check the temperature, check the unit, and all seems to be working correctly, set to 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. After numerous complaints, my father went to the people in the office and asked who had what problem. Suddenly, most of the people complained that the temp was not ideal for them. The one wants it colder, the other wants it hotter. My dad asked them how do they expect him to control the temperature around their individual desks if they share a large AC unit. They pretty much shrugged and kept complaining. Having had enough of stupid people, my father got a contractor to install individual temp switches on every desk, with a cable running into the floor, and explained that all of them could now change the temp to their desired setting. But then, power cables for each of these switches just stopped when they entered the floor below. They were not connected to anything, little dummy switches. He left a note in the building file for the next inspector what the little wires were coming out of the roof below the office. He said he regularly followed up with the people in that office if they're happy, and he said that he never got complaints after that. They were very happy with his service and that they could control their own temperatures. My sister is demanding I adopt her baby. 7 years ago, I, 35 female, adopted my niece, who's 9, from my sister, 26. My parents have health issues and could not take her in, so I took on the responsibility. I love my niece, and I will never ever blame her for my sister's mistakes, but it had unfortunately uprooted my life. It caused a significant sidetrack in my career, and I've had to turn down better job offers because they wouldn't allow me to stay close enough to home. My parents love my niece, but cannot take on the responsibility of caring for her, so I don't want to separate them. I even had a boyfriend before I took in my niece, but he also did not want to have kids, and we made the decision to part when I took her in. We've never hid from my niece who her biological mother is, and even though the first few years of her life were hard, 3 years ago, my sister started being in our lives again. She told me that she wishes for me to keep raising my niece because I have the better job and can afford it. My sister only has her GED and can hardly afford to keep herself afloat. She usually lives with her temporary boyfriends, so she doesn't have to worry about paying for her own place. My sister acts like an aunt to her daughter, not like a mother, and my niece still loves her mother greatly. This past holiday, we were at my parents' to open presents, and my sister gave my niece a present to open. It was a shirt that said, "I'm going to be a big sister," on it. We weren't sure what this meant, but my sister informed us that she was pregnant and that she would not be able to keep it, and she was once again expecting me to take in the baby. My niece was so excited at the news, and my parents were happy to hear they were getting another grandchild, but I was just floored. I burst into tears immediately and just walked out. My sister came in to talk to me, and I told her that I wouldn't be able to take in the baby. I don't want a new baby. I love my niece, but raising her is enough responsibility already. My sister told me I would be wrong not to take in my niece's brother. She didn't mean to get pregnant, and she doesn't even know who the father is. My parents couldn't take on a baby either, so it's up to me. My sister told me I should feel blessed, but I don't. When I told my parents and niece, they were all very upset, my niece especially. I don't know what to do, but I can't take in another baby. I know it is my niece's sibling and my sister's kid, but it would completely ruin my life. My parents and sister are trying to get me to change my mind about this. Am I the jerk? She threw this on you in front of everyone, including her/your daughter? No, manipulation in its purest form. She's 26 now, not 17. She has a GED. That should count for something. At this point, if she can't get her life together to keep the baby, or simply doesn't want it, that's fine. She doesn't have to keep it, but it's not on you to keep it. She can put it up for adoption. There are other families looking to adopt. Not the jerk. You are not her child-raising service. Absolutely. Giving her biological daughter a "you're going to be a big sister" t-shirt as a way of attempting to force her sister to say yes to adopting a second kid is so incredibly manipulative that I would consider cutting off her contact to COP's daughter, at least until she makes massive amends and promises to never ever pull crap like that again. I was thinking the same thing, but that might just confuse the daughter more. Does the sister have any medical conditions? She sounds kind of spur of the moment, doesn't think things through, wondering if she's just a free spirit or there's something underlying she needs help with. It sounds to me like she knows exactly what she's doing. Buying the shirt, giving it to OP's daughter in front of everyone? Nah, that's manipulative behavior she puts some thought into. She knew everyone would gang up on OP, that OP would have to deal with an upset kid, and she would be absolved of any wrongdoing. Honestly, it's heartbreaking because I have a strong feeling that OP's relationship with their niece will not be unaffected by this. OP is going to come out of this looking like the bad guy, even though she is definitely not the jerk. Not the jerk. Your sister needs to look into adoption. You need to get some counseling for you and your niece. Dealing with her mother in and out of her life has to be confusing. It's especially hard because your sister is using your niece's excitement to manipulate you and your parents. You don't want to upset the kid you have raised, but you shouldn't let your family force you to take in another baby. You and your niece will benefit greatly from some professional counseling and to navigate this crap storm. Am I the jerk for insisting my boyfriend eat respectfully at a nice restaurant? So my boyfriend, L, who's 20 male, and I, 20 female, have been dating for 7 months. We usually eat takeout if we want to get something to eat. However, I was recently promoted, so we went to eat at a very nice Italian restaurant to celebrate, like one with an enforced dress code. My boyfriend is not the nicest of eaters, which can be kind of gross, but I deal with it. However, I didn't realize he had no table manners. At the restaurant, after we were served our first appetizer, a beautifully plated bruschetta dish, Elle looked at me and jokingly asked me if I would be upset if he enjoyed his meal the same way he would at home. I told him that we were at a nice restaurant and there were other customers around. He didn't say anything, but instead started digging into the bruschetta with his hands, ignoring the serving fork, getting sauce all over his fingers. I let this go. However, when the pasta came out, he smirked at me and ate it like he hadn't eaten in a week. He dropped his fork and started picking up pieces of chicken and noodles with his fingers, getting sauce everywhere. The tablecloth, his hands, his clothes, his face. He didn't miss the opportunity to loudly burp after he had finished destroying his side of the table. The table next to us was astonished. My waiter even asked him if he was okay. Other customers were staring. He also put his feet up on the chair next to us, blocking the aisle. I had no idea what to do.
You could start by dumping this bozo. Where do you find these guys?
I didn't want to make even more of a scene, so I just asked for the check, which I paid, and left really embarrassed. On the way home, I told him how embarrassed I was, and he just said that it was my fault for not letting him enjoy the meal as he pleased, and that since we were paying customers, the other guests had no business judging us. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your boyfriend behaved like a toddler. The fact that he smirked before doing it suggests he knew exactly what he was doing and that he was trying to embarrass you. Not the jerk. This isn't like he used the wrong fork or made a bit of a mess failing with oysters or lobster. He was intentionally being disgusting because he wanted to make a statement. I'm too cool for a fancy restaurant. Agreed, not the jerk. Honestly, aren't you tired of dealing with your boyfriend's behavior? He's acting like a kid and you aren't his mom. Get yourself someone you don't have to worry about being in public or a restaurant with. It's just the basics of social politeness, and if he thinks he's above it, do yourself a huge favor and dump him. I walked out of my boyfriend's celebratory dinner. Now he's fuming. So my boyfriend, Kyle, 26 male, recently got a promotion to general manager at the restaurant he works at. I, 22 female, work full-time as a pediatric nurse, and my hours are kind of all over the place right now because of lockdown. Anyway, when he got home to tell me about his promotion, I was ecstatic. He's a hard worker and deserves it, 100%. But because it happened on a Tuesday, we decided we'll go for a celebratory dinner with our mutual friends Saturday night. I was scheduled to work Saturday, but I figured that as long as I was able to get home, shower, and change, all is well. I'll just sleep late on Sunday. So fast forward to Saturday. I unfortunately lost a patient who had been fighting for her life since birth. I've been her nurse every time I was working in that department, and her family are very important to me. I was absolutely devastated. When I got home, the last thing on my mind was dinner. I told Kyle about what happened, and he gave me a hug and said he's sorry to hear that. About 10 minutes later, he softly asked if I was going to go shower before we leave. I told him I really don't feel like going out, but he insisted that I go since I promised, and if he goes without me, his friends will ask a lot of questions. I didn't want to, but I agreed since I did promise. While I tried to keep a smile on my face, it was obvious I was upset. One of our friends asked if I was okay, and before I could just say I had a rough day at work, Kyle said, "She's been complaining about a patient she lost at work today," and scoffed. I was flabbergasted. He's never said anything like that before. I replied saying, "That patient was 3 months old." He shrugged and said that it's not my own kid and it shouldn't bother me this much. I was furious and embarrassed since this went down in front of our friends, so I just put down enough money for my meal and went home. I put his stuff in a box. He wasn't living with me, but would stay with me for 2 to 3 days a week. When he came back, he flipped out, and I just said I need space. That was 2 weeks ago. I've since changed the locks since he had a spare key. He says I'm overreacting and that I'm a jerk for ruining his big night, that I, selfishly, made it all about me. He accused me of thinking higher of myself because I'm a nurse and he works at a restaurant. Honestly, I don't know where that came from. And he also said that he figured since it was a celebratory dinner for him, he thought I was going to pay, and so walking out on him was very embarrassing because he didn't bring his wallet. One of our mutual friends, Amy, called me and said that while what Kyle said was messed up, that me leaving like that was unnecessary and it made the whole night awkward. I feel bad for ruining the night for everyone else, but I just couldn't let him get away with that. I'm very proud to be a nurse, and I don't want anyone, especially my partner, to talk poorly about it. So do you guys think I'm the jerk for walking out on dinner? Edit. Wow, thank you guys so much for all the kind comments. I've just now been able to read through most of the newer comments, and I've got tears in my eyes. I've lost a handful of patients since I became a nurse, and one whilst in nursing school. And while it definitely hurt me, I've never been this impacted by it. It still hurts to think about, and I'm sure it will for a long time. But hearing your guys' opinions and seeing your support honestly means the world to me. I wasn't sure if I was overreacting by packing his stuff out since this was the first big issue I've had with him, but seeing your comments helped me realize I wasn't. Seeing how all of you, who are internet strangers that have absolutely no reason to leave such sweet, caring comments, have way more compassion and empathy for me and the baby than the man who's supposed to be there for me says quite a lot. So thank you all so much. Edit 2. So I've been seeing some comments about the wallet thing. I honestly have no idea if he actually forgot it or if he just said that to get off the huge check, which my friend said was over $500. I wasn't aware he wasn't paying until after he was gone, so I didn't check the house to see if it was actually there. Edit 3. So it's 10:20 a.m. and I can happily say Kyle is completely out of my life. His friend picked up the last of his stuff about an hour ago. I called Kyle and, officially, even though it was kind of obvious, broke up with him and his number is blocked. Time for a mimosa. Thank you all for your super sweet messages. This blew up and I'm just overwhelmed by the support y'all have shown me. Not the jerk. Kyle said, she's been complaining about a patient she lost at work today and scoffed? Wow. He's talking like this is, we overcooked some calamari at work today and had to throw it out. And then to top it off, he assumed OP would pay for the dinner, even though that was never talked about before, so he didn't take his wallet. Wow is right. OP is already better off without him. I've been married for over 10 years. My husband pays most of the time when we go out, better reward system on his card, and I never leave home without my wallet.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.